strategy. Probably say, let's go out there and punt the football. Bill Belichick, though, he has to be happy. There were so many doubts about this Browns team. They really had not played many tough opponents in the first half of the season, and those they played, they lost to. First 9 opponents had a combined record of 27 and 55. A lot of that because they played Cincinnati twice, but in the second half of the season, combined 34 and 27 record for their last 6 opponents.
But they could have conceivably scored 24 points here in the first half. Had 1 touchdown nullified by penalty and had the ball inside the 5 before it was taken back all the way out of field goal range. Tupa, low line drive kick. Seidner from the 38. Hit immediately and dropped in his tracks. Great downfield coverage by Stacey Hairston. A 42-yard punt, and now just 5 seconds remain.
Well, Randall Cunningham, one of the few guys that can throw it this far in the league. Maybe a little alley-oop time. Not really enough time, 5 seconds, and you have to go back once again to the blown opportunity by the Eagles. They had the timeouts. Cunningham would have had the ball with about 25 to 30 seconds to go. And instead, they have only 5 seconds to work here. I would imagine Hail Mary time, throw it in the end zone. Why not?
The Eagles' total offense production has been anemic in the first half, but they're still in the game. Barring penalty, this could be the last play of the half. Short completion to Hebron. A lot of green in front of him, but the Browns converge and stop him at the 34-yard line. Stevan Moore made sure further damage was not inflicted on the short pass. Mark Rippon and the Cleveland Browns go to the locker room in front, 13-7. NBC's coverage of the NFL will continue after this message from your local station. Ready to start the second half at the Vet in Philadelphia with the Browns leading the Eagles 13-7. In fact, early the Browns looked unbeatable, maybe the best they've looked all season long, but they did miss some opportunities to add to that lead. Should they turn around and lose this game, they have only themselves to blame.
It's really been a story of penalties so far. No turnovers so far in the ball game, but penalties have really hurt both these football teams. Gave the Eagles a bit of a chance with that long completion or long pass interference call down the field.
Here are Coors Light halftime stats, and you'll see that Cleveland has been penalized almost as many yards as they have gained. And although the Eagles were held under 100 yards for most of the first half, they did get 29 on that meaningless last play of the half to look at least respectable. But Cleveland has been dominant so far in the first half.
Had that 1 touchdown call back by Ernest Biner. Kinchin's mistake knocked him out of field goal range. So a rough first half so far for the Cleveland Browns.
Well, the stats machine is about in the same category as your telestrator at the moment. So we'll have to take our word for it that the Browns have gained, I think, 142 yards and been penalized 92. So almost as many yards and penalties as they have had in total offense. And for most of the half, the Eagles were below 100 yards in total offense. Cleveland takes the opening kickoff, and there's that man again, Randy Baldwin, who had a long return that set up a field goal in the first half. Takes this one back into good field position, a 22-yard return for the NFL's best, Randy Baldwin.
And, Tom, I really think the story of this game so far has been the protection that guys up front have given Mark Rippon. He was so concerned about this front four of Greg Townsend, William Perry, Andy Harmon, and William Fuller. He said that the best news in the world for us would be is if Philadelphia had to start blitzing us. At least so far, that front four have been unable to get there.
Leroy Horde on the first carry of the second half. Bounces to the outside, spinning his way across the 45 to the 46. Bill Romanowski with his first tackle of the day, and Leroy Horde, maybe he fell on the football. In any case, he appears to be shaken up.
He does look hurt. I thought maybe it might be the arm initially that has given him problems in the past, but sometimes when you come down and you land right on top of the football, it just knocks the wind out of you. Hopefully that's all it is.
It did happen that way. We hope that's all it is. He has had a torn bicep. He's replaced by Ernest Biner. Biner had a touchdown run nullified by penalty in the first half. Play action pass. Rippon. Carrier has it. Mark Carrier inside the 30. Carrier's to the 12-yard line before he's pulled down from behind by Michael Zordich. Rippon caught Carrier breaking a wide open across the middle, and it goes for 43 yards.
And Tom, you cannot run these types of plays without superior protection. Look at all the time it takes for Mark Carrier to get across the field. Rippon was able to hold it for 1,003, 1,004, 1,005. In the newspaper tomorrow, you read the name of Mark Carrier and Mark Rippon, but it was the offensive line that made that play.
Still a big game for Carrier already. Finer backpedaling his way for a couple of yards. Center of the defense stacked him up. Greg Townsend, the veteran, 12 years out of TCU, put him down for good.
And Biner is comfortable in this goal line offense. He was the goal line back up until practice time this week.
That's what kind of sums up the game for Bud Carson.
It's like it may be Bud's last year. Tremendous guy, former head coach of the Cleveland Browns.
Biner cuts back, plows his way to the 4-yard line. William Perry put his bulk on top of him at that point.
And the second half starting exactly the same way that the first half started. The Cleveland Browns taking the ball and driving it right down the field. William Perry and this defense is a little surprised at how this Browns offense has been able to move the ball.
Perry will now leave. That bump, bump, bump on the Richter scale you hear as William trots to the sideline. Bert Grossman, the pass rushing specialist, replaces him. And Rippon will call a timeout. Play clock was at 2. And he saw something he didn't like, couldn't get the proper play called, and burns a timeout.
Steve Crosby's done a nice job calling plays so far in this one. Really has kept Philadelphia's defense off balance.
Cleveland will have it. 3rd and 3 when we return.
For fax machine.
Mark Rippon's 3rd down pass intended for Michael Jackson falls incomplete as Rippon is put on his backside. Good news for the Browns. Leroy Horde was able to return to the game, was in on that last play, but it's 4th down now. The Browns could have picked up a first down at about the 1, but it's 4th and 3, and they'll send Stover out to try his 11th straight field goal. This will cover 22 yards. He has 2 already today, 35 and 42. And Stover's kick is through. So the Cleveland Browns get another good kickoff return from Randy Baldwin. The big play, a strike from Rippon to Carrier. 3 more points. It's 16-7. Pacing the sideline, his team down 16-7. And for Bud Carson's defense, bad news. Byron Evans now they say it's his right tibia that is broken. He's on his way to the University of Pennsylvania Hospital and likely will have surgery tomorrow. Obviously out for the rest of the season. The Eagles' leading tackler.
Big blow for Bud Carson in that Eagles defense. Evans the guy that really keeps that defense together.
Stover's kick fielded by Hebron. Well, not fielded. Off Hebron's pad in the end zone where he'll down it for the touchback. Stover got a foot into that one, kicked it about 5 yards deep into the end zone.
And we've seen players glaring at each other and pushing each other throughout this contest. You know, of course, that Bud Carson was the former head coach of the Browns, was not happy at all when he was fired by Art Modell. Admitted to us yesterday that he's still a little bit bitter over the whole thing. I'm sure he had a few things to say about playing the Cleveland Browns today.
The Eagles have been relatively injury-free this season, unlike the last few years when they've been hit hard by injuries. 11 defensive players, their starting unit had started every game. Evans now out. Cunningham's pass to a wide-open Maurice Johnson. And Johnson corrals it at the 39 for a 19-yard gain and a first down. Stevan Moore stopped him, but not before Johnson had the big first down catch.
Maurice Johnson, much more of a blocking tight end, getting a chance to catch the football. He caught his first touchdown pass since 1991 against Chicago, and you see doing a nice job opening up his hips there and hanging on despite the hit from Stevan Moore.
16-7 game, 3rd quarter from the vet. Browns have led throughout. Swing pass to Hebron. cuts back. Cleveland pursuit catches up. Still about a 5 or 6 yard gain. Rob Burnett first to make contact with Vaughn Hebron.
Roderick Thompson, the right tackle for the Eagles, getting up very slowly again, as is Bill Johnson. These two teams banging on each other out here so far. The good news for the Browns is that they have plenty of defensive linemen. Probably the strength of their football team, the depth at the defensive line position.
Johnson out, replaced by James Jones. Hebron dropped behind the line of scrimmage for a loss by Pepper Johnson. Browns leading tackler and the longtime New York Giant made a big defensive play there.
I have to admit, I didn't think that Pepper Johnson had much left when he was signed by the Cleveland Browns, and they made a lot of changes here. Boy, he has been such an emotional leader for this football team. A couple of sacks already on the season, but he pulls up the middle. He takes up a big part of the screen.
He's a bowling partner of Leroy Horde. Leroy said he doesn't even use the holes in the ball. He just palms it, rolls it down the lane.
That's Fred Flintstone.
Third down pass from Cunningham. Floats it downfield, and it is almost intercepted. Broken up on the play by Don Griffin, intended for Barnett. And Griffin, number 28, made the play and almost had the pickoff as Randall just sort of hung it up.
He has such faith in his wide receivers, and especially Fred Barnett. He just thinks that if he'll float it out there, Fred Barnett will find a way to come down with it. And the other thing that gives you confidence as a quarterback, obviously a ball that should have never been thrown, that gives you confidence as a quarterback is if your wide receiver will play defense for you if a ball is poorly thrown. That time Fred Barnett did a nice job breaking it up from Don Griffin.
Barker's sixth punt, his best of the day. Metcalf from the 12. Spun down after a short return. 46-yard punt by Barker. And Otis Smith with good coverage of Metcalf downfield. Timeout. Browns ball when we return. Anytime you play the Cleveland Browns, special teams are concerned.
Larry Pasquale, guy whose job it is to try and shut down these special teams, had some success so far this afternoon. He asked me yesterday, he said, "Do you have any ideas how to stop these guys?" I said, "Look at me. You're on your own."
First down pass, Rippon. Incomplete. I think it short hopped the intended receiver. It did, in fact, short hop Hartley. He was covered by Bill Romanowski.
And now the Eagles finally beginning to get a little bit of pressure on Mark Rippon. Romanowski, of course, came over from the 49ers. Said in San Francisco, George Seifert put so much pressure on all of us to try and win football games, but here with Rich Kotite, it's been a lot more fun, more relaxed atmosphere in Philadelphia.
Mark Rippon has not been sacked today. Play action. Rippon rolls and heaves it downfield. Almost intercepted. Michael Jackson, the speedster, was streaking down the sideline, but Mark McMillan was with him step for step.
And Tom, that's the second time they've tried a double move on Mark McMillan, and it has not worked. Michael Jackson, the Browns thrilled to have him back in the lineup. He's been the big play guy. See the hesitate and go. But McMillan not fooled on the play. Good speed, only 5'7". Maybe that was the matchup they were trying to get. Feeling like they might be able to jump over his head. McMillan's so small, he said the first time he ever met Reggie White, Reggie thought that I wanted his autograph. He said, "Well, who are you with, son? What can I do for you?" He said, "I play with you."
You say the Browns were thrilled to have the thriller back, Michael Jackson? Screen pass trying to develop toward the intended receiver, but Britt Hager, who really has done an outstanding job since coming in to replace the injured Byron Evans, was there to break it up.
And Hager may have a chance to win a job here. There's a lot of discussion about whether or not Byron Evans will be back. He's a free agent, is asking for big money, more money than Ken Norton signed for with the San Francisco 49ers. And if Hager can impress, they may be willing to let Evans go.
Tom Tuca's fourth punt of the game. Sails toward Seidner. Hello for one man. Then is taken down on a nice open field tackle by Mike Caldwell. 6-yard return of a 47-yard punt.